India Maldives ties, which is a hot topic because number of things happened last week, last month, last 2 months, last 3 months, last 6 months. A lot of happenings have been taking place, which makes this topic very important for your mains exam this year, also probably next year. So what are the recent developments that are happening in last few months? So last week it emerged that the Maldives immigration authority. So I think before understanding what is happening last week, let's start from 2012. That will how you will understand what is happening now, because there's no point in dealing with it. So in 2012, in 2008, a democracy came to Maldives, and Mohammed Nasheed, who was a very pro-Indian guy, came to power in Maldives. In 2012, in a coup, he was deposed, and a new guy called Wahid came to power. So Wahid was his vice president. He came to power after deposing Nasheed in a military coup. Now things started going bad for India since 2012. So Wahid was he started the policy of tilting Maldives towards China. So the first issue of contention which came between India and Maldives was the airport issue. So the airport in Maldives in Male was being developed by GMR, but Yamin, and the contract was given by the earlier regime of Nasheed. So Wahid, when he came to power, he cancelled the contract and he gave the contract to a Chinese company, and GMR lost crores of rupees in that. So naturally, in India, first of all, you cancel the license of a company, and secondly, you give that license to a Chinese company. So definitely it hurt the sentiments in India. Now in 2013, there were elections, and in that election, Nasheed lost again, and Abdullah Yamin came to power. And Abdullah Yamin, since 2013, is running the Maldives in a very autocratic or a emergency kind of way. So he is more of there's a new term now in international politics, which is a democrator. So these are people who are elected democratically, but once they are elected, they function like an autocratic. So the biggest example of this is Erdogan, Putin, Netanyahu. So Abdullah Yamin is also kind of a democrator, though he was elected democratically, but since he's assumed power, he is behaving more of like a dictator. So in 2015, Nasheed was sentenced to 13 years of jail, and India was again irked by that, because India was a close ally of Nasheed, and it said that free and fair trial should be done, and they gave a statement in favor of Nasheed, which also of the ruling establishment in Maldives. Now let's come to 2017. In 2017, something very, in 2015, one more thing happened. Because of perceived closeness of Maldives to China, Modi, after assuming power, he went to all the countries in the neighborhood except Maldives to showcase a message to Maldives that we are not happy with what you are doing in last 2-3 years. So 2015, Modi cancelled his Maldives visit. Now in 2017, December, Supreme Court of Maldives gave a verdict in which it said that all the opposition leaders which were jailed or which were imprisonment or which have cases against them, they set free them. They said there's not substantial evidence against them, therefore they allowed them to go out of the prison. This was not liked by the incumbent government of Abdullah Tajabi, and he refused to accept the orders of Supreme Court, and instead he imposed emergency in Maldives. This was 2018 Feb. So he invoked emergency in Maldives. Naturally, when emergency was invoked, these opposition leaders were tortured, and India again issued a very strong statement saying that that Maldives should respect the democratic institutions in the country, including the judiciary. Again, India's statement urged Maldives, and in March 2018, Maldives started this policy of rejecting or not increasing the duration of work visa of India, of Indians. So there, as you know, that Maldives is known for their beautiful resorts and hospitality industry, and around 4,000 Indians, and there are I think more than that, are working in these hospitality industries in Maldives. But Maldives, as a as a consequence of India's issuing strong statement against the emergency, it stopped issuing work visa for Indians who got a job in Maldives, and it also because a lot of workers who were working there, their visa expired, they refused to reissue the visa for them. It again irked the Indians. One more thing which irked the Indians was another step taken by Maldives in April, which was that India gave 2 helicopters to Maldives for maintaining its internal security, but Maldives returned back those 2 helicopters back to India. While Maldives gave the reason that we don't need that kind of helicopter, but the real reason why they returned 2 helicopters back was because to use that helicopter, it would require few Indian Navy or Air Force personals to be in Maldives, and Maldives did not like that Indian Army or Indian Navy or Indian Air Force personals staying inside the Maldives. That is why they returned the helicopters back. One more theory is that China was imposing pressure on Maldives to return back the helicopters to India. Now, so what happened recently this week was that there was this vote in the UN Security Council. So as you know, in Security Council, there are permanent members, which are 5 countries, and there are non-permanent members, which are generally selected from Asia, Africa, and South America, and some of them are even small countries. So Maldives contested the election for the post of becoming non-permanent member in the Security Council, and Indonesia also contested, but India voted for Indonesia rather than voting for Maldives, which with it always enjoyed very close relations in the international scenario, in that arena. So what happened in June was that India supported Indonesia in UNSC bid, and this was considered as India's reply to the activities which Maldives have been doing from last 6 months, that we will not support you to be members of UN Security Council. So what are the 2 internal developments which have in the recent past which has concerned India significantly? So, firstly, there is this first reason is that there is Islamist radicalization which is increasing in Maldives. So Maldives, as you know, are ethnically they are very close to people living in Lakshadweep. The language is also quite similar, and they always followed a very moderate form of Sunni Islam over the years. But in last few years, thanks to Wahhabism, Wahhabi and Pakistani funded madrasas, there is increase in Wahhabist, or there is increase in the influence of Wahhabist ideology in Maldives. And Wahhabism, as you know, emerged in Saudi Arabia in 18th century, and it is the most extreme or most orthodox form of Islam, because Saudi Arabia was a Wahhabist country, is a Wahhabist country. So Wahhabism believed that Islam should be completely eradicated from the outside influence of any other religion, any other culture, and we should follow same form of Islam which was followed in the 6th century or the 7th century AD. So a lot of these Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all of them are inspired by this Wahhabist ideology. So India is concerned that rise in Wahhabist ideology is leading to a lot of members from Maldives joining ISIS. So there have been around 200 members from Maldives who are joining ISIS, and it's a big number because it's just a country of 300,000. Probably from India there are just 50 or 30 members which have joined, and we have 20 crore Muslims, and in Maldives there's like 300,000 people, and out of the 200 have joined ISIS. This is a concern for India. Second concern which India have is that thanks to some terrorist infrastructure being developing in Maldives, it could provide sanctuary to terrorists of Indian Mujahideen or Simi, because now that Indian government has been talking tough against them from last 8-9 years, these the operatives of Indian Mujahideen and Simi, which used to go to Pakistan earlier, now they can infiltrate too, or now they can go to Maldives as a safe camp. If India and Maldives relations decrease or it declines in future, probably Maldives government would also not work in this regard, and they will not be cooperative to India in sending these terrorists back to India. Second reason why India is concerned because of Islamic radicalization is that there is a possibility that Lashkar-e-Taiba may use the remote Maldivian islands as a launch pad for terror attacks against India. So in Maldives there are a lot of islands which are uninhabited, and it's very close to Indian mainland also. So the Lashkar-e-Taiba could, because of increase in Wahhabism influence, Lashkar-e-Taiba operatives could go to or could make one of these islands as their base, and from that base it can launch the terrorist attacks to India. And if that would happen, that would be a big concern for India. Second thing which concerned India is increasing role of China. So China is spreading wide and great. So let's understand this with a map. Here is India. Here is Maldives. And China, as you know, have been following string of pearls policy because they have a base at Gwadar, they have a base at Chittagong, at Coco Island, at Hambantota, and also they are in talks with Maldives to have a base at Maldives. So as you know that China, a lot of Maldives is located at a very strategic location. A lot of vessels from the Gulf region passes through Maldives, and therefore China wants to ensure that this is that it gets its oil without any much hindrance. Therefore, it is developing strong relations with Maldives. Secondly, it wants to have a check on India thanks to a string of pearls policy. Therefore, it wants to have a close relationship with Maldives. The difference between Indian intervention and Chinese intervention is that China goes to Maldives and says that, see, we have got a lot of money, we have got a lot of yuan, we want to invest in your country, we want your country to develop, and we want our businesses to get benefit. We won't interfere in your internal political affair. You have democracy, you have Wahhabism, you have dictatorship, you have anything. As long as your regime is friendly to us, we won't interfere in your internal politics. That's why Maldives is very happy. Maldives are getting a lot of money from China. Plus, there is zero interference of China in their domestic political affairs. India, on the other hand, they don't have much money also to offer. And secondly, they have their sides that they like Nasheed. They want Nasheed to be in power. That is why it is irking Maldives more, and that is why Maldives is going more to, or is developing more closeness to China. And the biggest example of that was the China Maldives FTA signed in December 2017. So Maldives signed a free trade agreement with China before even signing that from India, or before even signing that with India. That also hurt India because it would increase the already Chinese products are increasing in Maldives. This would further, flood the Maldivian market with Chinese goods. Secondly, China has also developed, or it is developing, a friendship bridge, or China Maldives. So it's a bridge between the airport and the main city. China is developing that. Also, Maldives has become partner in the Chinese maritime Silk Route policy. It is the Chinese tourists are now the largest number of tourists in Maldives. Also, in 2015, Maldives amended its constitution and it allowed the foreigners to own land, including this will lead to more Chinese investors buying land in Maldives. Third reason why India is irked is because of increasing closeness of Maldives with Pakistan. So the army chief of Pakistan visited Maldives recently. It offered also some sellout of arms to Maldives. So India has been hurt because India has always ensured that Pakistan does not have any influence on Maldives. It should be India which should have major influence on Maldives. So all these things are making India and Maldives apart from each other. And that is a problem, that is a main concern which we are having in this policy of this government. That every neighbor of India is now alienated from us. We don't have good relations with Nepal, we don't have good with Pakistan, we don't have good with Maldives, we have problems with Sri Lanka, we have problems with Bangladesh. So that is a problem. If we want to become a global power, we should at least in our backyard, these countries should be able to support us. If they will be anti to us, then how will we think of becoming a global power? So what should be the way forward for us? Firstly, India must see that India should not repeat the mistakes which it did in Nepal. So Nepal, we used hard power, we used the blockade to ensure that the government in Nepalese should accept our demand. We should not do that in Maldives, because these steps, these hard tracks, these hard bites alienate the people more from India. Because India already they consider as big brother, the big bully of the region. When they do this kind of activity, it further alienates the people from India. So we should not repeat the mistake of which we did in Nepal. Secondly, we should not have favorites. This is also one thing which we should work on. We should not have favorite leaders in a country. Like in Bangladesh, we have been, completely showing to all the political parties in Bangladesh that we are with Sheikh Hasina. Sheikh Hasina is our ally. Sheikh Hasina is our friend. Now, what it happens is that suppose tomorrow Sheikh Hasina loses power and Begum comes, Khalida Jia comes. Khalida Jia would know that India was very close to Sheikh Hasina. Now I will be very close to China because they are my enemies. So this is the problem. That is also happening in Maldives. When you have showcased yourself, when you have completely exposed yourself to be complete friend of Nasheed, then you alienate other political parties and leaders in Maldives. That is what is happening. So this is also a problem, that Maldives, we should not have any favorite. We should be willing to work with anyone which comes to power. We should be like China. Whether you are democracy, dictatorship, as long as you are not doing anti-India step, we are very much willing to support you, even if you oppress your opponents. Third is, just like China, we should not, or interfering in the domestic affairs of the country should be our last resort. We should, we should not interfere in the internal affairs of. We should, we should be willing. See, Maldives is very close to us. China is very far from Maldives. India could support Maldives economically in a very plausible way, practical way. It's not practical for China to have a very solid economic relations with Maldives, but we can do that. So we should focus on increasing economic bonanza, or in giving economic bonanza to Maldives, so that Maldives thinks that it is better to be with India, or any regime in Maldives would think that it would be better to be close to India rather than having close relations with China.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil's Daily.